Welcome to Women of Purpose Hub. We bring you edifying messages by Apostle Igenegba. Stay back and enjoy the video. God bless you.
Yes, indeed, I do believe that mantles can be lost in families and lineages. And I think just like every other blessing that God gives, it's not just about getting the blessing. It's not just about receiving the promise. It's also about stewardship. And I feel like things can be lost. It's the same way that as individuals, we can lose blessings that God gives to us. And that's the same way that generational blessings can be lost. When you think about it, Esau had a blessing, that was his. And it had to be transferred from Esau to Jacob. So Esau lost the blessing. It wasn't something that, happened randomly. There was a transfer that occurred in the spirit realm. And so imagine if it wasn't Jacob taking it, it could have been somebody else. And these things happen in lineages. These things happen in generations. So every family, I actually believe, has got mantles. Some are carried, some are dropped, and some are stolen. And the question you want to ask yourself is, am I operating in something that is less than what I should actually have? Am I operating in a deficit simply because I or the generation before could not steward what was handed down to us? And you may look at it and say, oh yeah, this doesn't happen to us New Testament believers. But you remember in the Bible speaking to Timothy, speaking about the faith that was in your mother, your grandmother, that is now at work in you. So that means there are actually spiritual inheritances that can be transferred, to your children. So the apostle would never have recognized the faith in the grandmother, in the mother, and now in the son, if it wasn't a thing that happens in the spirit. And sometimes people say, these are Old Testament things. And I say to them, the Old Testament is a shadow of the new. But a shadow is an indication that a much stronger image exists. So actually the Old Testament is, or the New Testament strengthens the Old Testament. So the Old Testament is the New Testament concealed, and the New Testament is the Old Testament revealed. So both of them actually intertwine. So the Old Testament does not come to cancel out. So the Old Testament merely gives us patterns and outlines of the things that God actually intends truly that we see in the New Testament. And Christ is the embodiment of it all. So he doesn't dismantle the patterns and the principles that God reveals in the Old Testament, but he merely gives us the grace and the keys to be able to activate and manifest them, as the New Testament believers. So many of the things you see, so for example, in 2 Kings 2:13, it tells us a story about how, he took up the mantle of Elijah that had fallen from him. That means mantles can fall. Elisha picked up a mantle. Was it a physical garment? Yeah, maybe. But is there a spiritual implication? Absolutely. So it fell from Elijah. That means when he was taken up to heaven, something was released from him that was available for a generation to possess on earth. So if no one picks it up, they lie dormant until they are claimed by a generation. And this happens also, for us as believers. There are many things that God allocates in time for certain generations, for certain lineages, for certain people, even like spiritual houses. I have seen situations where God can put something upon a spiritual leader, and when he dies, nobody actually takes it. And the houses begin to just decline. The churches or the ministries just decline at the death of the person. Do you really think like that was God's original plan for that mandate? Of course not. But many times we follow people and we follow systems, but we never ever embody the heart of it. So by the time the original person who has the vision departs, no one has connected strong enough in true diligent pursuit that is absent of defilement and a sense of condemnation and lies, so that it makes a person qualified to receive it. There's nobody, so but that in itself is a spiritual inheritance. And the Bible speaks about certain transference of gifts by the impartation and the laying on of hands are things that people receive by impartation. So that's to tell you that there are mantles. When Abraham was going to die, he's laying his hand on Isaac and giving a blessing. Isaac lays his hand on Jacob and gives him a blessing. Jacob lays his hands on the different sons and Ephraim, Manasseh, and he pronounces blessings on the tribes. And so you then realize that mantles may be physically intangible, but they are spiritual pillars, that people have that empowers them to function in generations, So I believe that there are certain things that have been lost that can be reclaimed, and so you look at someone like Mephibosheth, for example. He's in the lineage of Saul, who was the first king of Israel, and Mephibosheth's father is Jonathan. And Jonathan is both the son of Saul, but also a covenant friend of David. So because of the covenant that he has with David, David is looking for someone from the lineage of Saul that he can bless. And Mephibosheth, who is lame on both feet, living in the land of Lo-debar, is called up to receive a blessing, to sit at a king's table, simply because of a mantle, a blessing that is in his lineage. I feel like in the teaching of the School of Bloodlines, part of the things is to teach you how to respond in a season that a dormant blessing is being reactivated, and God is then calling you to the table to reclaim it, to reclaim, to repossess, and to enforce through the blood of Christ. But one of the things that I want to say to you is that you cannot reclaim a bloodline mantle without faith. You need faith to be able to get something that was given as a promise. Do you understand? So what fell in your bloodline does not have to stay buried. Christ can restore mantles. And I believe that Christ is doing exactly that in this season and in this generation. So when you join me in class for School of Bloodlines, it's part of the things that hopefully we're going to touch on. And as we do so, I believe that your eyes will be open to see, because Jesus really has come to give us the power to institute and establish all of these things. But many times we take it for granted. We don't identify aborted callings. Neither do we pray for a repossession of spiritual allocation. But all that is about to change at School of Bloodlines. I look forward to seeing you in class, and God bless you.
Welcome back, viewers. Hope you've been blessed by this message you just listened to. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. God bless you.